Hello, my name's Katie and welcome to my shed. Happy New Year. How are you all keeping? I have really struggled to sit down and record this video. I've been procrastinating this morning and finishing off another video which could have waited because I know I wanted to get this video up today or tomorrow, so I really should have prioritised it, but it's the reflection video. And I'm not a fan of self-reflection or, looking at my feelings. I'd much rather paint them away, repress them. That's how I roll. But in order to do this channel and myself the justice that it deserves, I have to do it. So we're going to sit down and we're going to do that today. So what we're going to do is we're going to sit down and we're going to have a chat about the stuff that I've learned and my journey so far, and I guess ultimately whether or not I'm going to carry on doing it, because one of the first things I said was that I was going to give myself a year to document my journey. So a year where we sit in the shed and I am held to account by saying I'm going to do the video. So I was holding myself to account to see how far I could go with my journey to making art part of my career, part of my income, and basically a year to see where that went. And it didn't go the way I thought. So we're going to talk about that. So the channel was designed to mainly hold myself to account, but also just to document my journey, maybe inspire some people to get down and create or start their own journeys. And I didn't want to get rid of all the messy bits, and you'll see there's plenty of videos where things did not go how I expected. In fact, probably more than I thought. When I was looking back prior to recording this video and looking at my like which videos have done the best and all those sorts of things, I don't think I realised how many videos just didn't go to plan, as in the images I created I didn't like or really struggled with. And you can go back and look at, I think there's probably about 6 or 7 videos, which it seems like quite a lot, but I guess what I have done through this channel is I haven't edited any of it out, so I don't sit here and practice. I mean, you'll notice that when you watch what I create, but you see the whole journey for every image that I've created this year. You've seen from sketches through to the things that have gone wrong to what's gone right and the end images. So it's been a very unedited year, which I think you can probably guess because the videos are quite long and there's usually a lot of me fapping around and saying I don't like things. So let's start with the first goal from last year, which was I was going to be really chuffed with myself if I got to 100 subscribers, and miraculously somehow we exceeded that, and there are I think 370 of you watching these videos, or at least subscribed to the videos. I don't think you're watching them all, which is bonkers to me, absolutely bonkers that anybody would willingly sit down and watch me throw some paint around and chat at you. So thank you, that's amazing. And I guess it's just, yeah, it feels like a bit, no, miracle's not the right word, that's the word I've got written down in front of me, but it's just very surprising. I don't want to be dramatic about things, I'm not a drama queen, but yeah, it's very surprising. So thank you very much for anyone who has subscribed. And if you haven't and you're watching, which apparently quite a lot of you watch but don't subscribe, please do. So should we talk about which videos have been more successful? So the most successful videos, the shorts have been successful. Most of the sort of watercolour ones where I've done time lapses of me making Christmas cards, one where I drew my cat, those sorts of ones, very compressed videos, they've all done quite well, and there doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason as to which ones have done better than others, because some of them I've created images that I've really been pleased with, but clearly the process just hasn't locked people in. So I probably need to get a little bit better at that. Realistically, I'll probably just carry on randomly doing them, and then ones that are successful are great, and then the ones that aren't, just sit there, because I don't know which ones are going to be more successful, and I'm realistically probably not going to spend the time to look into that. I need to be real with myself, and I know I've got other priorities, and spending hours looking at analytics isn't my style. I'll just keep producing stuff, and I like the surprise of when something does well. So in total I did 72 shorts this year, which surprised me. I didn't think it'd been that many, but apparently I have. And video wise, I've done 81. That's bonkers, isn't it? So I did start the year by doing 2 videos a week, and if I'm honest, it broke me. It was just really hard to finish anything and fit it in with life and things like that. So I decided to reduce it to 1 a week, which has been much more achievable and enjoyable, because I'm not having to rush things and spend, you know, late nights editing and things like that. Once a week is doable with my work and my life, so that is much better. The videos that have done well, surprisingly, the one that's done the best has had a total of 835 views, and that was me unboxing my printer. I guess it probably just has a bit more longevity, in that people that are looking for printers might stumble across it, so it's not necessarily arty people that are watching it. And then the ones below that are testing watercolour pencils and coloured pencils and printing ones. So one where I did some dry point printing and some Tetra Pak printing. So they're the ones that have done the most well, that have done the best out of the videos I've done. Interestingly, they're probably the ones I've enjoyed making the most, or the ones where the images have come out that I'm happiest with. So I think it just proves that it probably doesn't matter how successful a video is, because for me it's much more about what the outcome is and whether I like what I'm doing. So yeah, that has surprised me a little bit, I think. I looked back at that first video, and there was a couple of statements that I said, which I guess not that they surprised me, but just that it showed for me what my journey's been. So I said that I normally paint in acrylics, oils, and do digital images. I don't think I've done any digital painting this year, maybe 1 or 2 when I was on holiday, but nothing that I would share or that I would do anything with. Oil wise, I only did a couple of oil paintings and realised that it was giving me a headache when I was doing it in my shed, so I might have to save it for plein air work. And the other thing that I said was about how I was selling art at local craft fairs and open studios, those sorts of things, and how it brought in a very small income, enough to kind of sustain buying new materials and things like that. And this year I have sold, I think, 1 print and 2 notebooks. Yeah, I didn't really put as much energy into making it into a business as I thought I was going to. And I guess some of that is that the business side of things changed. So when I recorded that first video, Lou and I hadn't even considered about doing workshops, and that probably has taken up a big chunk of our time. So we had that discussion, I think, in February. Yeah, so I think it was February. So I guess the business side, the art business side of my life, took a slightly different path to what I was thinking it was going to. And I feel like I need to push it a little bit back down the other path, or split the path and do both. So that's something that I've learned, or I don't think I'd even really twigged until I watched that video. Yeah, I need to have a big think about how we're going to do that. I think I'm going to do a separate video for my goals for 26, just to try and keep them shorter. So I think one of the other big learning points for me about my art was about repetition and consistency, because there's been quite a few videos where I've done the same image multiple times, which didn't surprise me in that I know that that's what I do. That's kind of how I've always worked, I'll start with a sketch and I'll work it and work it and rework it, and I might actually paint an image 3 or 4 times before I get one that I'm happy with. For me, it reinforced that process in my artwork, because I don't know, the paintings just evolve as I repeat them to a point where I'm happy with them. I don't think I find it very easy to just go, I'm going to paint this image, and I do it and it comes out how I want it. I was going to quickly show you some of my pieces of work that I think have been my favourites through the year. So let me go. Okay, we're going to start with this one. This one took ages. There's probably about 4 or 5 videos of me painting this over various different stages, but it is this one, which was my Yellowhammers, and I really loved the fact that I had this very graphic background and then the birds were a little bit more realistic, but I managed to get the movement in. I'd struggled with it. I struggled with the foreground a lot, but now I really love it. It was one that I submitted to the SWLA open exhibition. Didn't get shortlisted, not surprisingly, because the artists are amazing, but bits that I love about it, I love these marks. As you know, I use my skewer all the time, love getting a few skewer marks in, so that was probably one of my favourite paintings. In contrast, one that didn't take very long at all, but that was because I had done it so many times in various different forms, was this one, which is the Great Tits. This one's in acrylic as well, and yeah, it didn't, I don't think this final painting took that long, but the work up to it took ages. I think I did about 4 or 5 different Great Tit paintings before I got to this one of the same sort of image. But yeah, I'm really pleased with that one. This one's going, both of those are going to go into the house and get put up on the wall. The other birds that I really liked were part of a series I did where I painted the same bird in multiple different guises. Like I'd do it in watercolour, I might print it, and then I'd do it in acrylic. And the first one was this little tawny owl. I would say this one's probably my style at the start of the year, although I think I did them about halfway through the year, was this one. I did that as a watercolour, which I'll probably pull out at some point, but which I also really liked. This Hawfinch, I like him. Again, I painted him multiple times. And Peregrine. Much more realistic than my usual style, but when you come in, actually the marks are quite loose. Can you see how loose they are? But from a distance I would say it probably doesn't look that loose, but really like him. So they were probably the ones that I, not necessarily most successful, because there were other successful paintings I've done, which you can look back and watch if you want, but probably the ones that give me most joy, that I like looking at the most. And I would say most of these will be making their way into the house. I'll probably put these 2 up to sell, but the Hawfinch I'll keep, as I will the other ones, unless anyone particularly wants to send me loads of money for them, then crack on. Landscape wise, so what's quite interesting is one of the things that I said at the beginning of this journey a year ago about landscapes was that I was quite scared to show you them because they were quite abstracted, and I thought people just wouldn't get it. But they're some of my favourite paintings that I've done this year, and certainly some of my favourite videos that I've recorded. This one here was one that I'd had in a different form for a long while in the shed and just couldn't quite work it out, and then went in and abstracted it a bit more, and it's an image that I'm really pleased with. It's clearly a landscape. It's not so abstracted that you can't work out what it is, but again, it's got these marks in that are, I think, becoming part of my signature style, these sort of scraped in marks. You can see the sort of thick layers of gesso underneath. I really like all the texture in it. So that one is one of my faves. Not sure what I'm going to do with that one. I can't think where I'd hang it, although I do like it. So I'm not sure where that one's going. That being said, I mean, we'll come on to goals in another video, but I have booked some fairs for next year. So I will need to sell some of this art. And then this one, which I think I might have done it, I don't know if I did it as a short or not, is another abstracted landscape, which didn't take me very long to paint at all, but it's probably turned out to be one of my favourites I've done this year. It's this one here. It's something to do with the colour set that I really like, the marks that I've made, the fact that I've got pencil line in there as well, and then these sort of floral alliums with, there's something about it that I just really like. I think it just proves that it doesn't have to be the one that's you've worked for the hardest, or you don't have to sweat over something to create something that you really like. And this one's a good example of that for me. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why I want to keep it, because it reminds me that you don't have to struggle. Sometimes you can just do it and then like it. So that's why I like that one. Okay, so the next one that I've got is definitely part of my journey because it was a new medium for me. So this was the one I did it a few times, as is normal for me, but I did it in reflections in gouache, and that's a medium that I just didn't use before, but I love it. I like it in all, I've done 3 versions of this. I like all 3 versions of it, and I think it looks really nice framed up, make a really good gift for somebody. And I've done pen line over the top of it for the detail, and again it's another one that I didn't have to struggle for, but I really enjoyed. So those are those ones. The other ones that I've just done actually aren't going to be in a video next week, so I'm not going to show you those, but they're landscapes. Again, very abstracted, really bright, just make me happy to look at them. It surely is the whole point of art. Right, let me go and have a rummage for the other bits. Okay, this next section is probably my biggest surprise, which is not what I came into 2025 thinking I would do any of this. So I think this is where the workshops have really helped me, because I've had to learn new stuff to do the workshops. So the first one we did, which was the watercolour birds, I did hundreds of blue ticks and realised I quite like working in watercolour. And also did some bullfinches. So yeah, that was, I think, a big surprise for me, because it just helped me understand watercolour a little bit better. I am absolutely still nowhere near proficient, but we'll talk about that in our next year's video. But yeah, I really enjoyed learning watercolours, and doing these little studies actually then made me do other things. So there was this one which was just the black and white. This was to do with one of the workshops we were doing as well. We then did the ones which we talked about, the bigger paintings. So we had the peregrine and the barn owl and the tawny owl as well. I really like all of these. I haven't quite decided what I'm going to do with them. Probably should frame them up or do something like that. But I think for me, this channel and the workshops has made me learn new mediums, which has just been, I can't think of the right word for it, but it's pushed me in ways that I don't think I would have pushed myself naturally. I would never have gravitated towards that. But now I feel like I'm using watercolour and mixed media more than I ever thought I would. And the other workshop, which I think this has probably been the biggest eye-opener for me, or biggest learning for me, was the workshop where one of the exercises, Lou was teaching us about single line drawing. I've talked about this before. I even did a whole series of videos on about not being able to draw because I thought I couldn't draw. And then we did an exercise with single line drawing, and I drew, I mean, you might still say you can't draw, but I drew ketchup and chips. Did a few other little things as well, but it really took the pressure off me, feeling like things had to be exact and perfect. And I feel like this painting will probably be one which changes the course of my art massively, and that's thanks to doing the workshops, which in part is thanks to these videos. And then probably the biggest surprise of all was when I then took it on to do the mixed media still life. I'd never drawn still life before because it petrified me. Just thought, I can't do drawing and I can't do still life. But using those techniques in the single line drawing, and then just the fact I've learned to play with watercolour and mixed media through the year led me to do these two, which I'm going to show you them. You've seen them before in the previous videos, and they are very rough works, but this one and this one are probably two of the paintings that bring me the most joy to look at, because they're just, yeah, they're joyful. The colours are great. They're probably quite marketable as well if I'd have painted them on paper that was a better quality. And a year ago I never would have, just wouldn't have crossed my mind to even try it. And that probably seems it's a bit of a tangent because I was meant to be talking about the videos, but I think it just shows for me that having the videos and having this channel probably didn't affect me in the way that I had maybe anticipated when I started, which was about bringing in income, using it to sell my art, that sort of thing. But what it has done is it's forced me to learn new techniques, forced me to play more and to be in my shed more, which was probably the main aim of it, to hold me to account for creating. And therefore it really has pushed my style and my artistic direction, which is probably why I haven't felt like I've wanted to sell it as much, because I still feel like I'm on a real journey. I've just looked through my notes. There's only a couple of other bits I wanted to talk about, and this video was meant to have a nice flow to it, but as is true to me, it's been quite chaotic. One of the things I've written on here that I want to talk about was about how coming into my shed is like my therapy, and we have talked about that on previous videos, but I do think this year has really shown that when I'm not able to get into my shed and create, my brain is just messier. So having my quiet space, being able to zone out and just focus on creating has really helped me this year. It's been a really busy year, a lot going on, mostly self-inflicted, including running this channel and doing the workshops and things like that, but it's never felt, coming in here to do the videos has never felt hard work. I've never not wanted to do it. So one of the things I think I'm going to pop it as the thumbnail, really, where I'm going to about how I think that doing this channel and doing YouTube has kind of broken me, but not broken in like a burnt out way, in a kind of like ridiculous kind of great way. All I want to do, I always think, I'm like, oh, I want to get in my shed. Just want to be in the shed creating. And yes, it means that the house is a mess and the garden doesn't get as much love as it did before, which wasn't a lot. It's making me knackered trying to do it all. I don't know if you've watched my other videos, but I do work full-time, and I also am chair of a charity, and that takes quite a lot of work, and we run the workshop, so you know, I do have a lot on my plate. And I think that this channel has the potential to become something that would break me, but I think actually it's probably my healing space, and I say that lightly because I know how cheesy and naff it sounds, but I think it probably is the place where I come to heal and rest. The other thing that I want to talk about is the future. I'm going to do a video with goal setting for 2026, but I do want to talk about the future of this channel and my artistic journey. So I am going to carry it on because, like I say, it's never felt like a chore. There have been weeks where it's been really close to the mark about getting out the videos on time, And then I've had to give myself a bit of a talking to and remember that it's not a real deadline. It's a deadline I've made in my head, and if I can't get a video out on the day that in my head it needs to go out, that's okay. So that, I think, will take the pressure off me feeling like I've got to get things finished at a certain point. What I really want to do is go into the next year with a sense of, not of who I am as a creator, because I feel like I've just talked about that a lot, which is that I'm on a massive journey, but that I want to keep learning, I want to keep exploring different techniques. There's things that I've learned this year that I really want to push more and practice more. I do still want to be making a living by creating, but I think I need to accept that that's not going to happen soon, but that through doing the workshops I'm going to be generating a little bit of income, which is perfect. And then anything that I do sell through sales and through sales and fairs is a bonus. And I guess what I want for the channel is I want it to stay a place where we don't judge, and it's for beginners or people that just want to listen and watch me ramble on, where we embrace our mistakes and we don't judge, and where creating feels joyful and beneficial to our mental health and to our well-being. So for any of you who have subscribed or watched my videos or commented or liked, thank you for holding me to account and encouraging me to keep going with this journey. You've helped me probably in ways that you won't realise. I mean, why would you? But you've helped me in lots of ways, just to focus on something different for a while, different from work. At the start of this year, I sat in this shed. I was probably wearing the same outfit, I expect, or something very similar, and talking to you about why I was setting up this channel. If you want to know my journey and the reasons, feel free to hop back on and watch that. I have been genuinely blown away by the fact that anybody who's watching this, and that this little corner of my garden and little nook of the internet has really grown in a way that I couldn't have expected, and helped develop me in ways that I just hadn't imagined and probably hadn't recognised until I filmed this video. So thank you very much, and let's look forward to more ramblings in the new year of me making a bit of a mess and probably messing up some paintings, and you looking at me going, she don't know what she's doing, because I don't, and that's okay, because I'm on a journey. So it's cool to accept that and recognise that in yourself. Oh dear. So yes, if you've managed to make it this far, thank you very much. Please do press the like button. I would like some more engagement next year, so that's one of the things that will be on my list. So could you please pop a comment in the chat, tell me, if you've watched any of my other videos, which of my paintings were your favourites this year, or let me know if you have been inspired to create anything yourself. Okay, so if you haven't already subscribed, please do so, that would be amazing. I'm going to set myself a little goal for next year, and I will pop that in the next video, and let's hope that 2026 is even more creative and fun than this one. Thank you for watching, have a great week, and I will see you soon. Bye.